You are, of course, now in Turkey, but your grandparents were amongst the victims of the catastrophe itself, the Nakba, who spilled, like almost 1 million others, into an exile which has lasted all this time. And therefore, I'm correct, I'm sure, in assuming that you are following events on the ground there with the utmost closeness. So tell us what you think of Israel's end game in this. I've just been discussing with a caller. What is it that they have in mind? Do they intend to try and transfer 5 million people out? Do they intend to try and annex, illegally annex these territories, in which case, how will they answer the obvious apartheid point, which is inevitably will rise? Or will it be more of the same for as long as they can get away with it?
Chris, thank you very much for inviting me. Actually, both of my parents were born in Jaffa, Palestine, and both were exiled. Both were kicked out of Jaffa. And therefore, I am a son of refugees of the 1948. As far as the question you posed is concerned, I think it's very important to remind ourselves that Israel is a settler, colonial, terrorist state that was established, as you all know, on the backs of the Palestinians. We had the first Nakba, but throughout the years, the numbers of Palestinians, even though 80% of the Palestinians in the occupied territories of the 1948 were exiled, eventually in 1967, Israel was in control of the whole land. And now they have the whole Palestinians, half of the Palestinians actually inside Palestine. And today, that number, as you pointed out, is probably exceeds the number of Jews. So they had a problem on their hand. They're trying to take advantage of the resistance, because the Palestinians on October the 7th, it was an act of resistance. It was a prison break. That's what it was. And there were reasons for what happened on October 7th. We witnessed the biggest siege in the history, probably in this region and probably beyond. For the past 17 years, Gaza was under crippling siege. We saw that the new government, which came into power at the end of 2022, they were intent on not only taking over 60% of the West Bank and trying to expel the Palestinians, annex the lands, but also they were trying to take over the Al-Aqsa compound. We saw the Ben Gvir policies towards the prisoners. So when you put all these 5 reasons together, Gaza, West Bank, Jerusalem, the prisoners, and the strategic point, which Netanyahu was trying to argue 2 weeks prior, that this whole region is actually going to become under Israel's hegemony, when he drew the map that's extended from India through the ocean and the Gulf and Saudi Arabia and the Emirates and Jordan and Haifa and back to Europe. And basically he was saying that we are in charge of this now. There is no longer something called Palestine. That's why we saw October 7th. But when you put all this all together, Israel found that there is a solution out of its quandary. They had a problem because they didn't want to have a 2-state solution. That train has left the stations. Now some are coming back. They don't have certainly one man, one vote, where Palestinians will have the same civil and political rights. So, and they don't want to be an apartheid state, because that's what they are. So they found a way to deal with this by committing genocide, by forcing the Palestinians to leave.